Welcome back to my channel, Horror Mystery. Another night, another terrifying mystery. Let's begin.
After the final episode, all secrets will be unveiled. Who survives? Who is truly behind it all? And most importantly, will Sam escape the madness or become part of it? I hope you watched episode 1 and 2 now. Let's start. I froze in place, hardly daring to breathe. The pounding got louder and more frantic, and I could hear a female voice whisper, screaming, "Open the door, please open the fucking door, oh my God," and I am ashamed to tell you that I did nothing. There are all kinds of excuses for it, and probably they are very good, valid excuses, but I should have opened the fucking door. Because the next thing I heard was a scream which was rapidly cut off, and the pounding stopped. I don't know how long it took me to break the fear-induced paralysis, but at a certain point I could suddenly breathe again. My first thought was, holy shit, I think that was a real person, and my second thought was, what the fuck, that was a real person. I bolted over to my peephole and peered out at the hallway. Nothing, just an empty hallway. It was pretty late, around 3 or 4 a.m., so I guess everyone else either slept through whatever it was, still out with friends. I took deep breaths and debated the intelligence of unlocking the door to check the hallway more fully. I couldn't do it. I was too freaked out. I scrambled for my phone and grabbed the card that Detective Collins had given me earlier, punching his number in with shaking hands. "Hello, you've reached the voicemail of Detective Brad Collins. I'm unavailable at this time, but if you leave a message, I will return your call as soon as possible. Beep." I didn't leave a message. What was I going to say? "Hi, sorry to wake you up at 3 a.m., but I just had either a very realistic auditory hallucination or something very bad happened to someone in my hallway and I'm too scared to open my door to check which one it is." "Yeah, no. That's also why I didn't call 911. I didn't need them to come out and decide I had simply gone insane. Instead, I waited in my apartment until daylight, clutching a kitchen knife just in case. It made me feel better, even if I didn't know what I would do with it if someone showed up. Finally, the sun came up and I felt brave enough to leave my apartment. I opened my door a crack and peered out into the hallway. Nothing. No suspicious stains, no claw marks in the door or walls, not even anything to suggest that something had happened there last night except a hair clip with a flower on it that had fallen outside my door. And maybe that was from some other student walking to the showers and didn't notice it falling out. Yeah, right. I couldn't bring myself to leave my apartment that day. I felt like a failure, like I really was losing my mind. I even called David to see if he could come upstairs just so I could have someone else to talk to, someone else to verify the crazy shit I was experiencing and tell me that, no, Sam, you're not going insane, and maybe even help me not die if everything I was experiencing was real. Ring, voicemail. I hung up. He was probably still sleeping, is all. It was like 7 a.m. on a Saturday. I pulled out my books and tried to get through some of my assignments, but I was distracted. Every little noise was enough to make me jump, and by 10:30 I was doing that thing where you fall asleep, catch yourself, fall asleep, catch yourself. It was thoroughly exhausting. I was also starting to flicker in and out of the nightmare. I don't even remember the specifics, I just remember suddenly waking up terrified over and over. I had this feeling that I had better not fall asleep for real because the doctor was waiting for me. My phone rang, startling the bejesus out of me. I checked caller ID. It was David. "Hello?" "Hey, Sam, sorry I didn't pick up earlier," he said. "I was asleep when you called and didn't check my phone till just now. I saw the missed call. What's up? Everything okay?" I felt tears threatening. No," I forced out. "I actually, need your help." "What's wrong?" he asked, concerned. "Are you hurt? Where are you, Sam?" "No, I'm fine. It's just I had the fucking nightmare again, and someone was screaming outside my door, and I don't know if it was real or not, and I think I'm losing my fucking mind. I'm afraid to leave my dorm. Can you please just come over?" I sobbed. "Oh my God, Sam. Yeah, of course. I'm on my way up right now." He hung up. A few minutes later, I heard voices outside my door. David and someone else. They were arguing about something, but I couldn't tell what. Just the cadence and tone of their voices made it obvious that they were disagreeing about something. David tried my doorknob, but I had left the door locked, so he called out, "Sam, it's me! Open the door!" I did, and he quickly came inside. "That fucking creep was outside your room, Sam," he told me, "the one who was following us yesterday." I started hyperventilating. "This can't be happening, this can't be happening, this can't be happening," played over and over in my head like a mantra. David took me by the shoulders and shook me roughly, snapping me out of it. "Sam," he barked, "get a hold of yourself." It startled me more than anything else. I'd never seen David get physical with anyone. "Sorry," he said quickly. "You scared me for a minute there." He made a motion as if to hug me, but I turned away on the pretext of putting my phone down. "So," I said, making an attempt at casual conversation, "have any ideas about what we should do all day in my apartment?" That came out wrong. I laughed awkwardly. He just looked at me soberly, chewing his lip. He said slowly, "I have an idea, but it involves leaving the apartment. It's scary and very risky, but I think it will end all the insanity." My eyes widened. "Tell me." "Remember how I told you my theory about Dr. Meckham being the killer? I think I was wrong. I think it's one of the students. Maybe he's possessed them, or maybe they just learned about the history of this place and snapped, but either way." He paused for a long moment, looking at me, probably assessing my reaction to what he'd said so far. He took a breath and plunged forward. "Sam, I think Chris has something to do with it. He's been following me too, and I just ran into him outside your door. He was pretty pissed off when I told him to fuck off. I don't want to freak you out more than you already are. But I think he was waiting for you to come out of your room." I took a shuddering breath. "Well," I said slowly, "that's a less crazy theory than the last one." His face twisted for a second into an expression that scared me hate or rage. He doesn't like being made fun of, I noted. I continued quickly. "So what's the risky plan? I'd do anything to make all of this stop, to just go back to normal." He looked me straight in the eye and said, "We have to go back to the abandoned wing tonight. If what you heard was real, then he just claimed his next victim. And the guy is melodramatic. He's going to want to return to the scene of the crime. He's going to want to thumb his nose at the authorities and flaunt the fact that they haven't caught him yet." I must have looked dumbfounded because he shrugged and said, "Psych, Major. I wanted to be a criminal profiler when I grew up." His attempt at making me laugh didn't work at all. Go to the abandoned wing? At night? Is he insane? But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, what choice do I have? The cops have hit a dead end and I have no evidence of anything other than the fact that I'm going insane. So I told him, "Okay, let's do it." We arranged that he would meet me back at my room at 8 o'clock as he needed to go pick up some things to make our task easier. He said he knew a way to get in that wouldn't be watched by the cops and that he would make sure we wouldn't get caught at least. Not until we caught Chris, at which point no one would give a shit. I pulled out my outfit for the night and settled in to wait. Adrenaline kept me awake for the rest of the day, and I even managed to get a little bit of studying done. At 8 o'clock sharp, my phone buzzed with a text message. "I'm at your door. Let's go." I took a deep breath, grabbed my pocket knife, and opened the door. David was standing outside, a determined look on his face. "Ready?" he asked. I nodded, not trusting my voice to be steady. "Good," he continued. "Follow me and stay quiet. I found a back way in, but if you make any noise, we might get caught." He turned and walked away, trusting that I would follow. I hurried to the stairs and we slipped outside and crossed the street towards the school. I lost track of where we were going exactly, as he led me through the campus into one unlocked classroom, through a supply closet with, I shit you, not a false backing. Somehow we ended up in a maintenance tunnel under the campus. The stale air sat heavy in my lungs as my heart beat a rapid tattoo against my ribs. This place had not been used in a while. The lights were dim or non-existent, and our footsteps echoed weirdly through the dark. I shivered and quickened my steps so I was closer to David. My anxiety was almost overwhelming, and I was seeing movement in the corners of my vision. Then I heard it. Scrape, thud. There isn't a better way to describe the noise, although it's not quite right. It was the sound of someone walking towards us, slowly, inexorably drawing closer, dragging something. I grabbed David's arm and yanked him down to whispering height. "David," I hissed in his ear, "did you hear that?" He looked at me, wide-eyed and pale. Slowly he nodded. Scrape, thud. His eyes darted into the gloom behind us. We'd walked about 50 yards and there was nothing but gloom and flickering lights in the tunnel. Either way we looked, we had stopped walking, and I was straining my eyes, looking back the way we came, trying to see where the noise was coming from. I could feel David shaking next to me. Scrape, thud. "David," I murmured, "am I imagining things? Or are the lights back there starting to go out?" He grabbed my arm. "You're not imagining things, and we need to go now, Sam." And with a yank that practically dislocated my shoulder, he turned and took off running down the corridor, pulling me along at his side. Our footsteps clattered and echoed on the concrete, filling the hallway with 1,000 imaginary pursuers. We turned a corner and were suddenly face to face with a locked door, forcing us to stop. I leaned over, hands on my knees, gasping for breath. "What? Now?" I wheezed out. David put his hand over my mouth and looked at me with big eyes. "Shh," he breathed. Still gasping for breath, I listened. Silence. Then I heard it. Scrape, thud. The lights at the end of the hallway were all out now, only a few left casting their dim glow out into the hallway. I was starting to see something moving at the edge of the shadows. Scrape. Thud. More lights went out. There was only about 60 feet separating us from the darkness, and I could clearly see an outline in the dark moving towards us. "Move, Sam, move!" My brain was chanting at me. "Sam, you gotta move, fucking move!" I grabbed David's arm and gritted out, "Unlock the fucking door, David." He swallowed hard, nodded, and turned to the door, pulling a credit card out of his wallet. He was going to jimmy the fucking lock while something awful crept towards us. "David, you better be good with that thing, because I swear to fucking God." I broke off, unable to speak, unable to breathe. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. The thing that was stalking us was right at the edge of the shadows now, a single bulb illuminating the space between us. It was Sarah. She had been beautiful when she was alive, drop-dead gorgeous. It made her even harder to face as this thing. One of her legs had been twisted, broken in several places until it was simply so much meat. She had deep wounds on her arms and torso, and her chest was a bloody ruin. One of her eyes had been pulled out and dangled limply on her cheek. She was staring at me intently with her other eye, a look of horror on her face. She took a step closer to me and I backed up, terrified. What the fuck is taking David so long with the fucking door? Oh my God, I'm going to die here. Suddenly there was a click and David was yanking the door open. "Sam, get in now," he hissed, turning around to grab me. Her eye flicked from me to him and her face went from horror to rage. The tunnel grew even darker and colder. I know that sounds like a cliche, but I swear to you this is what it felt like. She lifted one ruined arm and pointed at us and let out an ear-piercing shriek. It felt like the fucking walls were shaking. It was enough to break my fear paralysis, and I turned and ran, shoving David through the doorway ahead of me. I felt something snatch at my hoodie as I ran through the door, and I dodged, hearing a soft rip as I made it through. Acting purely on instinct, I sidestepped, turned and slammed the door shut. Less than a second later, something slammed into the door, rattling it in its frame. Then, nothing. I backed away from the door, noticing that we were now in a disused stairwell. I made it up a few steps before bumping into someone. I whirled around, heart pounding. It was just David. "Whoa there," he said. "Sam, are you okay?" "Yeah," I croaked out, heart in my throat. "I'm good. Did you fucking see that thing?" "I saw something," he said slowly, but I'm not sure what. What do you mean? I asked harshly. You didn't see the fucking dead girl who tried to fucking kill us just now. Don't get mad at me, Sam, he pleaded. I was trying to open the door and all I heard was you backing towards me, and as soon as I turned around you grabbed me, shoved me in here and slammed the door. I think I saw something, but it was so fast I just don't know. Plus it was dark as fuck in that hallway. I covered my eyes with one shaking hand. I'm not fucking crazy, I thought furiously. The fucking door rattled. I took a deep breath. It's fine, I muttered. It's over now. Where the hell are we anyway? He grinned. Welcome to the abandoned wing. These are the maintenance access stairs, but once we go through that door up there, we'll be in the main lecture hall. It lets out right at the top of the stairs, so don't trip. I nodded and followed him up the stairs. When we got to the doorway, he paused. It's gonna be pretty dark in there, he warned, so let me go first. I've got the flashlight and I'll light the way in front. He opened the door into the lecture hall. As we stepped through, a feeling of intense déjà vu washed over me. I'd been there before. I recognized the place, even in near-perfect darkness. I had dreamed about it. I shut the door behind us as David continued ahead, sweeping his flashlight in front of him as he descended to the center of the lecture hall. I followed him automatically, almost robotically, not wanting to be left alone, even by a few feet. I couldn't believe it. How had I managed to dream this room so exactly? The déjà vu wasn't going away. It was getting stronger the longer we stayed in the hall. As we walked down the stairs, I slowed, then stopped, staring ahead. Right there, I thought. That's where he always catches me. I caught a flash of movement in the corner of my eye and whirled to face the bank of windows on the left. Was that a face? Or am I imagining things? Sam? I jumped, startled, and almost lost my footing. Yeah, I'm coming, I said hurriedly, not wanting to draw more attention to my mental state. God knows he already thinks I'm insane. I don't need to tell him I'm seeing things again. I started down the stairs again, but something was wrong. It was like the room had gotten darker, colder, quieter. Where did the flashlight go? David? I called out as loudly as I dared. Hello? Silence. This isn't funny, David, I hissed, suddenly furious. Where the fuck are you? I started stomping down the stairs, convinced that this was some sick practical joke. Some friend, I thought, well, fuck him and fuck this. I'm getting the fuck out of here. I strained my eyes through the dark, looking for the door out of the lecture hall. That's when I heard it. The mechanical scream of a medical drill coming from the pitch black below me. I turned my ass around and started running back up the stairs. This is a dream, this is a dream, this is a dream. I tripped. Right at the same fucking spot I always tripped. But this time something was different this time. When I fell, the lights came on. The sudden brightness blinded me, and I threw my arm up over my eyes to shield them. The back of my head hurt like hell, and the room was spinning as I struggled to roll over and see what was coming for me. It was David coming towards me with an insane look on his face and a bone saw in one hand. He'd left the drill running, but it was a large stationary drill, not something he could carry with him. I struggled to get to my feet to fucking run, but my head pounded and the room spun. As I shoved myself up on my elbows, I saw the scene behind David, and it was all I could do not to vomit. David, I croaked out, what did you do? He just laughed. Every hair on my body stood on end. Not because it was some insane cackle, no, he sounded totally normal. She needed help, Sam, he explained patiently, still advancing towards me. I fixed it. You need my help, too. Just wait there and I'll fix you. You won't have to be scared anymore. That was enough for me. I rolled onto my side and started army crawling into the row of desks next to me, still unable to stand. I can't let him catch me, I thought. He's fucking insane. Sam, he called out sing-song. You know I'm going to catch you. Why are you running? I just want to help. Stop and let me help you. It'll only hurt for a minute, I promise. Tears were rolling down my face as I dragged myself along the row of desks. Finally, I managed to grab one of the chairs and haul myself up to a crouch. I'd managed to get closer to the wall with the exit door on it, but I still had to outrun David to the door and pray that it was unlocked from the inside. If anything went wrong, I was worse than dead. I'd be like the girl in the center of the room, chunks of meat on a gurney. "You can do this," I told myself. "You have to, now!" I shoved myself up and started running in a sort of limping hobble towards the door. David let out a scream of anger and gave chase, knocking aside years-old rusted desk chairs. "Run, fucking run, don't look back. You only have to make it to the door. Just make it through the fucking door." I could hear him gaining on me as he reached the side stairs, almost falling down them in my mad rush to escape. "Don't trip, don't trip, don't trip," I could hear him behind me, his hard breathing and his footsteps chasing me. "Don't fucking trip, Sam. When the door's right there, it's right fucking." There, I slammed into the door at full speed, grabbing for the handle at the same time. For a heart-stopping fraction of a second, it stuck. Then, with a shriek of disused metal and years of rust, the handle turned and the door flew open, spilling me out into the hallway. I fell on my side and kicked the door shut as hard as I could. It slammed shut and I heard the latch click just as he ran into the door with a boom and crunch. He screamed, but it sounded muffled. I learned later that he had broken his nose when he ran headlong into the door. I didn't have any time to waste, though. He'd be after me in a second, and there was no way I had enough body mass to hold the door shut. So I forced myself to my feet and ran, staggering through the empty hall. I could see the outside exit. I was so close I could read the words on the yellow caution tape. I heard the door slam open in the hallway behind me, but I knew if I turned to look, then that would be the last thing I ever saw. I made it to the tape through the doorway, and someone grabbed me, yanking me roughly to the side with his hand over my mouth as I fought backwards. He pitched us both into the bushes and hung on tight. I fought like a fucking wildcat. I didn't escape the psycho just to be murdered by a different one, and then I heard, "Sam, it's okay. Shh, the cops are here. Ouch, stop it. It's okay." It was Chris. Chris, who had been stalking me. Chris, who offered to walk me home and make sure no weirdos bothered me. Chris, who had been much smarter than I had. I stopped struggling and waited, shaking, for David to emerge. Then I heard it, the best thing I had ever heard in my life. "Sir, drop the weapon. Sir, I need you to drop the weapon. Drop the fucking weapon." He slit his own throat and died laughing. There are a lot of pieces that I put together afterwards. My initial recollection of David's last name had been correct. He was the grandnephew of the infamous Dr. Mayhem and had become obsessed with following in his footsteps. He had also been on a cocktail of prescription drugs that all had similar side effects: hallucination, intense anger, suicidal tendencies. The list goes on and on. Yes, he was the one who killed my friends, and no, I don't know why he decided that this was the perfect time to start. The knocking I had heard that night on my door was, I assume, David with the fourth victim, the one I had seen in the lecture hall. I later learned that she lived on the same floor that I did, and my assumption is that when he found my door locked, he went and got someone else to play with. When I saw photos of her, she did have a disturbing similarity to me, at least in terms of looks. He was trying to use her to lure me out. As it turns out, Chris was a good guy. He saw David following me home one day, in a way that I obviously did not know about, and decided to keep an eye on him. When they had that yelling match outside my door and David came in, Chris stayed outside and eavesdropped. That's how he knew to follow us, and that's how he knew to call the cops. Incidentally, it's also his face that I saw outside the window. He apologized for being creepy, and I apologized for giving him a bloody nose when he dragged me into the bushes. We're still friends today. As for the ghosts of my friends, I'll never know if they were real or not. I never had hallucinations after leaving that college. I transferred out at the first opportunity, and the school was more than happy to help me leave, and never saw any more ghosts. One thing I do know is that both times they had showed up before the tunnel, David had been hiding, lying in wait for me. It came out in the full investigation that the week where he was gone, he had been hiding out in an abandoned dorm room, and whenever he could, he would follow me. It was him that knocked something over in my room right before I saw Alex, and it was him hiding in the shower room when I saw Carla. Whether they were real or not, they saved my life. There's only one thing I still don't understand. To this day, I don't know why David didn't just run at me when I fell. He could have easily caught me then, and I would not be here to tell you this story. The only thing that ever made sense is that it was all part of his game, that he really thought he would be helping me by hurting me. That's the most horrifying thought to me, that this was all a game that he had orchestrated. To have someone be so sane and yet so crazy at the same time is terrifying. I never caught the mask slipping until it was far too late. The end? Or is it? Sam thought it was over. The flashing red and blue lights of police cars washed over the scene as Chris helped them to their feet. David was dead. His own twisted game had ended with his blood on the floor. The nightmare was supposed to be over. But as Sam sat in the back of the ambulance, staring at the cracked windows of the abandoned lecture hall, a cold realization crept in. The scrape, thud echoed once more. A shadow shifted in the doorway just beyond the reach of the flashing lights. David was gone, but something else was still there, watching, waiting. And this time Sam wasn't sure if they had truly escaped at all.
If you enjoyed this mystery, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more chilling stories. Who knows? The next mystery might be closer than you think.